Hey, what's going on, y'all? So, once again, I am coming at you with the facts, nothing more, nothing less, just the facts, right? And this video is basically going to be about the grown little boy and the fact that he is a convicted felon. And we're going to talk about that in the context of the R. Kelly trial, right? And one thing I need to get out there immediately before I even get started is that this video is not intended to be an attack on the grown little boy, also known as Larry McGee. This video is not intended to be a smear campaign against Larry McGee, also known as a grown little boy, right? This video is simply just the facts and nothing more. So with that said, I ask you, the viewer, one question. Do you think the grown little boy was a government operative that or whom set out to essentially persecute R. Kelly in the public's eye? Or do you think he was simply another YouTuber blogger who was just out trying to make as much money as he could on this social media platform? Now, me myself, when I make videos under a few simple motivations. The first motivation is, of course, everyone knows that YouTube is a platform whereby you can produce content and then you get paid for the content you produce, right? Now, I'll tell you personally, me myself, I haven't actually been that successful at that, but that's of course one of my motivations. And then yet another motivation is that I like talking about law. So when I make videos, I get a chance to talk about law and I get a chance to learn and educate myself on law. And then, of course, the third motivation for making videos is that I get a chance to try to speak out against injustices or injustice that happens on in law or in social media, right? So there you have it. Those are my motivations, right? And I guess I would ask you, do you believe that the grown little boy had the same motivations when he made his videos? Or did he make his videos because he is some sort of government informant or some type of government agent? Now, I don't have any facts that would support that the grown little boy was a government agent or that he is acting on behalf of the government or he's working in concert with the government. I don't have any facts to support anything like that. I'm just simply asking a question and I'm allowing you to make that decision. I actually think that the facts support that he was more of a person who was just simply trying to make it on the YouTube streets by simply producing content and getting paid for the content. And we're going to get into that in a minute. But first, a simple YouTube search will show you that he has several channels, right? And when you click on these channels, you'll find that, he has several videos where he actually persecutes R. Kelly in some of these videos, right? So he has several videos for that. And of course, there's a picture of him right there, right? And if you go to yet another channel, you'll find, let me pause this, you'll find similar behavior on his other channels, although his other channels appear to have content about other celebrities as well. And of course, they have some about some videos about R. Kelly. Then, of course, you find channels like this where there's very little content at all. So I'm going to read to you an article that I found about the grown little boy, also known as Larry McGee. And this article is coming from Scandal Media. One thing to keep in mind is that the words I'm about to read are the words of Scandal Media, and Scandal Media is alone, right? So basically, this article goes on to say that Scandal Media has been properly made aware of a ruse on the part of a strikingly illiterate and facially challenged YouTuber by the name of Larry McGee. McGee, who goes by the YouTuber name Grown Lil Boy, is a convicted felon who is among a barrage of YouTubers suspected of fugitively working as government operative. Now, I don't have any facts to support that narrative, and after reading this article, I didn't feel as if the article presented any facts to support that narrative. But anyway, just moving on. Both by supporting and harshly criticizing embattled R&B superstar R. Kelly. Unlike his fellow miscreants ostensibly working for or against the singer, McGee is operating in the capacity of a sociopath by vigorously criticizing Kelly on his Grown Little Boy channel and staunchly supporting him on another channel called Senator and Sinez Times of Reality Speeding. So if we take that channel name and we do a quick search, and we filter that search by channel, we will see that the channel actually exists. I forget what needs to be done to get the channel to actually show up. I think you have to cut out some of the, there it is, right? So I was actually surprised when I read this article because this channel actually exists. Let me pause this. And of course you see Larry McGee there, but you also see several videos that basically supports R. Kelly. Now, I myself have not watched any of these channels. I have never known, I've never known about this actual channel. I've always seen his content on the Grown Little Boys channel, but when you click on some of these videos, you can actually hear his voice and you can actually see his face. Like, you know, when we go back to the home page, you see him here. I'm not going to, uh, yeah, so you see him there in the beginning. Chicago. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get a strike, but that's actually him there, right? So I'm actually confused. Like, you know, this whole thing confuses me because I was when I made this video, I was prepared to say that although I don't have any evidence to support that he's a government operative, I believe that he was a government operative or he was trying to become a government operative in order to reduce his sentencing. Now I am not so sure. Let's go ahead and get into this. Um, so basically what I found was this article here on the Department of Justice website. Again, these are facts. Nothing more, nothing less, right? And then it goes, California man sentenced to 4 years in prison for a role in 1.3 million bank fraud scheme, right? So now when we dig into this, it basically goes, a California man was sentenced today to 48 months in prison for his role in bank fraud scheming resulted in approximately 1.3 million in losses, acting U.S. Attorney Rachel Honig announced, right? And then it goes on to say Adam D. Arena, 44, previously pled guilty before the U.S. District Court Judge Noel L. Hillman in Camden Federal Court to an indictment charging him with bank fraud and conspiracy to commit bank fraud. Judge Hillman imposed his sentences by video conference today, right? You know, so this article was released Wednesday, April 7th. Then it goes on, according to documents filed in this case and statements made in court between 2016 and 2018, Arena conspired with Larry McGee, right, also known as Grown Little Boy, and Dwayne Motless to execute a scheme to defraud Synchrony Bank. Arena obtained the personal identifiable information of others, most of whom were incarcerated individuals. Arena and his conspirators then used those individuals' personal information to obtain credit cards from Synchrony Bank. Arena and his conspirators submitted to Synchrony Bank merchants applications so those enrolled merchant banks could accept Synchrony credit cards as a form of payment. After Arena and his co-conspirators enrolled the merchants with Synchrony Bank, they used fraudulently obtained credit cards to conduct fraudulent transactions at the merchants. The fraudulent proceeds for those transactions were deposited into the bank accounts controlled by Arena and his conspirators. In addition to the prison term, Judge Hillman sentenced Arena to 3 years of supervised release. He also ordered Arena to make restitution to Secrecy Bank in the amount of 1.3 million dollars and ordered forfeiture in the amount of $608,000. Acting U.S. Attorney Honan Credit, Special Agent of FBI under the direction of Special Agent in Charge George M. Crouch, with the investigation leading to today's sentencing. The government is represented by the Assistant U.S. Attorney Catherine R. Murphy of the U.S. Attorney's Office, National Security in Newark, right? So there you have it. So essentially, this article sums up the crux of the matter, basically, and we're going to get into some of the details. But essentially, the grown little boy, also known as Larry McGee, was involved in this scheme whereby they would use the information of convicted felons to get credit cards to purchase items from merchants and to basically, extract money, from Synchrony Bank by using the information of the incarcerated felons. And when we get into the actual indictment, which I have here as well, we can get a little bit more details. Let me blow this thing up. And basically, you can see again that this is a federal case, United States of America. And this case is against Adam D. Arena, Dwayne Moldless, and Larry McGee, Larry L. McGee. Larry L. McGee is also known as a grown little boy, right? And the funny thing of it is that I think there's some videos where Larry doesn't hide the fact that he has a criminal case, or he had a criminal case, and he openly, basically, let everyone know that he had a open criminal case. And this actually leads me to think that perhaps he wasn't necessarily trying to work with the feds to get R. Kelly persecuted, and perhaps maybe he didn't even have a relationship with the federal government outside of this indictment, for the purposes of trying to indict R. Kelly. To me, it seems as if Larry was simply just trying to make money on YouTube. And I'm just going to come out and say I actually like the presentation of a lot of his videos, and I actually like how he delivered a lot of his content. Um, and with the fact that we just heard that he had another channel supporting R. Kelly, all this leads to me to believe that he was just simply out trying to beat the system and make as much money as he could from YouTube. And I think his channel was pretty successful, in my opinion. Again, he had a lot of really good content. So if we basically go back to his the channel called Senator Cyanez, he has been making constant videos on both channels. You can see the timestamps on this: 4 days ago, 5 days ago, 1 week ago. Derek Chauvin, coincidence, I can't even talk. Prosecutorial misconduct, freestyle, right? And it looks like that's supporting R. Kelly. I haven't seen that, right? Um, so to me, it looks like he was playing both sides. If we go back to the other channels here, to me, it just looks like he was playing both sides, right? Let's light it up. Grown Little Boy's prayer for, what is this? For Mrs. April. R. Kelly articles from 2000. He was just a really good blogger, in my opinion. I think he was a good blogger. I don't know how many views he actually got on this channel. On this channel, he got 73,000 views. Let's see here. Let's go back. On another channel, he had 24,000 views. What about the channel Cyanez? If I can get back to it, I may have to type the name back in. I guess I have to type the name in again. And on this channel, he had 105 views. So I don't know. Maybe the views doesn't show how good of a blogger he was, but my personal opinion, um, outside of the context of R. Kelly and outside of everything else, if you just looked at his content alone, you would probably like the way he presented his content. I just thought he was a good blogger, right? So that's the gist of it. So basically, he was indicted on several charges, violating several criminal statutes, which you can see here. And basically, they give the background. Let's see, at all times relevant to this indictment, defendant Adam D. Arena was a resident of Phoenix, Arizona. Dwayne Moatlis was a resident of Las Vegas, Nevada. Defendant Larry McGee, aka Deshaun Moatlis, was a resident of Las Vegas, Nevada. And then Synchronicity Bank was a financial institution as the term is defined in Title 18 U.S. Code, Section 20, offering, among other things, credit cards to customers. Synchrony provided a range of credit products through programs with select retailers, right? So we're going to skip that. And it goes on to say, in order to become a Synchronicity approved merchant, a merchant had to provide documentation of a business and or medical license and a complete Synchronicity merchant application. We're going to skip that. We're just going to try to power read through some of this stuff. Victim 1 was a physician who practiced in Miami, Florida. Victim 2 was a physician who practiced in Atlanta, Georgia. And then it goes on to talk about the conspiracy from in or around 2016 and around 2018 in the District of New Jersey and elsewhere. The defendants, Larry McGee and others, did knowingly and intentionally conspire and agree with each other, otherwise collectively the conspirators, to execute and attempt to execute a scheme and artifice to defraud a financial institution, namely Synchronicity, whose deposit were insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and to obtain monies, funds, assets, and other property owned by and under the custody and control of that financial institution by means of materially, falsely, and fraudulently pretense, representation, and promise contrary to Title 18, United States Code, Section 1344. The goal of the conspiracy, it was a goal of the conspiracy for the conspirators to fraudulently obtain credit cards from Synchronicity using the personal identifiable information of others, mostly whom were incarcerated individuals, and those fraudulently obtained credit cards to enrich themselves and others. Manner and means of the conspiracy. It was part of a conspiracy that at the beginning, at least as early as in around 2017, the co-conspirators submitted fraudulent credit card applications to Synchronicity using the names and personal identifier information of incarcerated individuals. The conspirators submitted a Synchrony fraudulent merchant application in the names of both real and fabricated merchants. The fraudulently obtained credit cards were used by the conspirators to conduct credit card transactions at real and fabricated merchants. McGee provided the names of the corresponding Synchronicity credit card account numbers of at least two incarcerated individuals to a co-conspirators located in Fort Lee, New Jersey, conspirator number 1. Conspirator number 1 and others then used the information to make multiple fraudulent purchases in around February 2018 at stores in Bergen County in New Jersey. The conspirators submitted two Synchronicity fraudulent applications on behalf of healthcare merchants to enroll them in the credit card network. Arena used the name and personally identifiable information of victim 1 on a fraudulent merchant application without the victim's knowledge or consent. Moatlis used the name and personally identifiable information of victim number 2 on a fraudulent merchant application without victim 2's knowledge or consent. On the fraudulent healthcare merchant application, the co-conspirators listed routing numbers and account information for bank accounts for which one of the co-conspirators were either the signatory of the bank account or otherwise had access to the funds in the bank account. Both before and after Synchronicity enrolled these healthcare merchants in Synchrony's credit network. Based upon the fraudulent misrepresentations made by the co-conspirators began submitting fraudulent credit care applications, primarily in the names of incarcerated individuals, to Synchrony, so these purported customers could be approved for care credit cards for use at the healthcare merchants within the Care Credit network. Some of the fraudulent Care Credit card applicants were submitted from a internet protocol address located in New Jersey. And this is the other thing I need to point out, people. Anything you do on the internet is basically being recorded and it's basically being monitored. So you really want to be careful what you do on the internet. You want to be careful what you do with your phone, right? I'm not advocating that you go out and commit crimes. I'm just throwing it out there that all your information in this day and time is out there for any and everybody to basically receive, and it's out there for any and everybody to basically perform an investigation on you, right? So in some cases, you may have to have a warrant, but in other cases, if they already have this information, they don't need to get a warrant. So be very careful what you do out there on the internet. It doesn't matter if you're uh, whether or not you're trying to do something legitimate and legal, you're still putting your information out there. You should really be careful. But anyway, the co-conspirators purported to be legitimate merchants in the Care Credit network, submitting fraudulent transactions using the Care Credit cards for healthcare services that were never actually provided. The fraudulent Care Credit card transactions, Synchrony paid for the purported healthcare services by depositing funds into the bank accounts of the co-conspirators and provided on the fraudulent Care Credit merchant applications. So yeah, so I mean, it looks like they had a pretty sweet scheme. Basically, they had these credit cards, and they would just come up with these fraudulent bills, and they would submit them, and get Synchrony Bank to pay for them. Right? At least that's what I'm getting out of this so far. The purported Care Credit card holders did not pay Synchrony when they were billed for the fraudulent Care Credit card transactions. Between and around March 2017 and around December 2018, Synchrony deposited approximately 1.6 million into the bank accounts controlled by these co-conspirators. Jesus Christ. So these guys were able to get about $1.6 million from the scheme. And to me, I'm trying to figure out how in the world does this bank allow this type of fraud to go on in the tune of $1.6 million, right? So I'm trying to figure out if this was all done in big chunks, or if there was like thousands of microtransactions, which basically led up to $1.6 million. And if that's the case, how do you allow someone to defraud you for $1.6 million? To me, that just doesn't make sense, right? Unless, like, again, they're like for huge chunks, 500 million, 500,000, 400,000, so on and so forth. The co-conspirators used those bank accounts and the funds fraudulently obtained from Synchrony to pay for their personal expenses, all in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1349. And then it goes count 2. The allegations contained in paragraph 1, 3, and 4, count 1 of this indictment are hereby repeated, realleged, and incorporated as fully set forth herein. From and around 2016 through and around 2018, the District of New Jersey and elsewhere defendants, Larry McGee and company, knowingly attempted to execute a scheme and artifice to defraud financial institution named Synchrony, whose deposits were insured by the Federal Deposit Corporation. We kind of already read that. And then the allegation goes as follows. The allegations contained in paragraph 1, 3, and 4, we read that. On about the dates set forth below in the District of New Jersey and elsewhere, the defendant Adam D. Arena during and relation to felony violations of 18 USC 1344 and 1349 as set forth in counts 1 and 2 of the indictment did knowingly transfer, process, and use without unlawful authority a means of identifying of another person as set forth in the individual count below. So March 17, 2017, he used name, social security number, and medical license number Ooh, wow. How did you get that? Victim number one on credit card network merchant application for the medical practice located in Miami, Florida. Count four. And count four is essentially the same thing. This time for Dwayne Modeless, and he used the information of victim number two, the same information. And then it talks about forfeiture. Then it goes on, as a result of committing the bank fraud offenses charges in accounts 1 and 2 in this indictment, the defendant's charge and each respective count of this indictment, Larry McGee and Company shall forfeit to the United States of America pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 982 A2 any property constituting or derived from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of the offense charge. Now, I also did a video where I talk about forfeiture procedures. I'll try to put a link of that above, right about now. And, that link talks about how the government can actually forfeit your assets, whether or not those assets were used in the commission of a crime, or those assets are the result of the crime, or simply because you owe restitution, right? So check that video out where we talk about the post-conviction procedures and we talk about criminal forfeiture in that video, right? And it goes on, it talks about substitute assets provisions, essentially meaning that if they can't find, the assets, and they can take whatever you have. Um, and then that is essentially it for that indictment. We have some other documents to get through. We can actually see in this document, this one is specifically for Larry McGee. And it goes on, let me blow this up a little bit here. And it goes on, the defendant Larry L. McGee was represented by Howard B. Brownstein, Esquire. The defendant pleaded guilty to counts 1 and 2 of the indictment on 6/17/2020. Accordingly, the court has adjudicated that the defendant is guilty of the following offenses. And basically, he's guilty of conspiracy to commit fraud, and he's guilty of bank fraud, right? He pleaded guilty to those, right? So typically when you plead guilty to something, you're hoping for some type of plea agreement. I don't know if he actually got a plea agreement, but I'm thinking the sentencing that he received is pretty light, so I'm assuming that there was some type of, leniency or plea agreement there, right? As pronounced on May 6, 2021, the defendant is sentenced as provided in pages 2 through 7 of this judgment. The sentence is imposed pursuant to Section Reform Act of 1984. It is ordered the defendant must pay the United States a special assessment of $100, for counts 1 and 2, for a total special assessment of $200, which shall be due immediately. Said special assessment shall be made payable to the U.S. District Court. It is further ordered the defendant must notify the United States Attorney for this district within 30 days of any change of name, residence, or mailing address until all fines, restitution costs, and special assessments imposed by this judgment are fully paid. In order to pay restitution, the defendant must notify the courts and the United States Attorney for any material change in economic circumstances. So my thing is that they caught you, they took all the money you had. How in the hell are you going to pay, all this money back, right? So that's the first thing I would ask, right? So then we talk about the imprisonment pursuant to the Sentences Reform Act of 1984. It is the judgment of the court that you, Larry McGee, are hereby committed to the custody of Bureau of Prisons to be imprisoned for the term of 18 months. Again, that's not a lot of time in my book. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think 18 months is a lot of time, for committing fraud? I think he should be able to do that time with no problem, right? And then it goes on to say each counts 1 and 2 to be served concurrently. Ordered that the defendant will surrender for service of sentence at the institution designated by and on date set by the Bureau of Prisons. The court recommends the Bureau of Prisons designate at a facility for service of the sentences as near as possible to the defendant's home address. So they're going to try to lock him up somewhere near Las Vegas, Nevada. And then he's also going to get supervised release. Upon release from imprisonment, you will be supervised release for a term of 5 years. Uh, let's talk about, and it also talks about financial disclosure. Upon request, you must provide the U.S. Probation Office with full disclosure of your financial records, including commingling income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. So you have to report your income on a regular basis to the government. And new debt restrictions. You are prohibited from incurring any new debt charges, opening additional lines of credit, or incurring any new monetary loan obligations or debt by whatever name known without the approval of the U.S. Probation Office. So damn. So this dude can never get any new credit cards unless he gets permission from the government, right? You can't get credit cards. You can't get lines of credit. You can't have any credit extended to you without getting permission from the government. Self-employment business disclosure. You must cooperate the U.S. probation officer in the investigation and approval of any positions of self-employment, including any independent entrepreneurial or freelance employment or business activity. So you basically have to tell the government your business for an extended period of time. I'm assuming he has to do this for the period of 5 years, right? It doesn't say what the time frame is. And it talks about the standards of supervision. We're not going to go over that. And then it talks about restitution and forfeiture. And basically, he has to pay $1.5 million in restitution, and he has to pay that to the U.S. Treasury. And I'm thinking, wow. I'm thinking, like, man, this is basically crazy because um, who makes $1.5 million? I would say that the only way that he can pay this off is that he becomes some type of YouTube superstar, which pretty much, in my personal opinion, he may have been en route to doing, right? Or, he becomes some type of professional athlete, or, he has to find some way to strike it big to come up with $1.5 million. Of course, another option is GoFundMe, but I doubt that people will be wanting to pay a criminal's restitution in the realm of $1.5 million. I feel bad for the guy, right? So of course, I also feel bad for the people that he defrauded, right? But I would hate myself to be in a position where I have to come up with $1.5 million because that's going to be pretty tough. For the most part, you're going to be a slave until you pay this money off, right? Questions or comments below. You guys let me know how you would come up with $1 million, $1.5 million, when you can't get any lines of credit, you can't find any way to start a business. Yeah, this is crazy. There's essentially no way, under the conditions I've already read, you can't start any new businesses, or you have to report your business to the government on a regular basis, and you can't get any lines of credit. And in my opinion, one of the best ways to make money is to go and get lines of credit so you can open up shop and sell, whatever widgets you're selling. And, that's a quick way to, make money because you're getting a loan that's going to increase your capacity to earn money. And, now he can't do that because he has a 1.5 million debt hanging over his head, and he can't apply for any credit cards or any lines of credit. So it's kind of crazy. Let me know what you would do if you were in Larry's situation. I'm interested to see what you would do in this situation. And then it talks about criminal forfeiture, the consent judgment order forfeiture money judgment in the amount of $380,000. I'm assuming that's what. There's other articles out there. Essentially, this is what he probably had in the bank account somewhere. And I'm not sure if that was the result of his criminal activities or if that was money that he made on his own, right? Um, and then this is just really a summary. Imprisonment of 18 months, 5 years probation. He has to pay a special assessment fee of 2,000. Uh, then he has to make restitution for $1.5 million. I think one way to satisfy this $1.5 million debt is to file bankruptcy. I mean, you're in prison, you don't have a job, and you don't have any income. You have no way of actually making that money. So I think, what is it? I forget whether it's a chapter 7 or chapter 13, but one of those bankruptcy is going to allow you to purge all your debt. And I think this is probably the best option for him. Except I don't know if a person can file bankruptcy in this position. I believe they could, but yeah, if he can, I'm going to say that's going to be his best option. File bankruptcy. Start with a clean slate when you get out of jail, right? And then we also have this, and this is, I don't know what this is. I think this is basically essentially everything that I read, but it's basically geared towards Larry McGee, also known as the Grown Little Boy. Basically, this is a consent judgment and a order of forfeiture, right? So money judgment, right? So he basically consented to giving up the $380,000, whereas a property subject to forfeiture, the defendant includes a sum of money equal to $380,000. Let's see what else is in here. We're just going to skim through this. Whereas in the plea agreement, the defendant consented to the imposition of criminal forfeiture money judgment, with the defendant agrees to be an amount of $380,000. For some reason, it's just saying the same thing over and over. There could be other juicy details in this, but for the most part, I am going to wrap this video up. That's it for this video. So let me know what you think. Do you think the Grown Little Boy was a government operative, a government agent, or was he working on the behalf of the government to basically persecute R. Kelly in the public media or in the public's eye? Or do you think that he was simply a YouTuber, a blogger, getting his grind on, and he found the best way to get his grind on was basically support and attack R. Kelly? In my opinion, it's pretty clever, except for the fact that you're showing your face on both channels. Maybe you shouldn't show your face on both channels. I don't know, but it just looks like because if you're going to show your face, you may as well put everything on one channel. If you're going to leave identifiable information on these channels, then it doesn't make any sense to have them separate. Because you're going to piss some people off, and then they're just not going to watch your content. But let me know what you think. Do you think he was just a brother getting his grind on, simply trying to, pay off this $1.5 million debt that he's racked up? Or do you think he was working as a government operative? Me personally, I'm leaning towards saying that, he was basically getting his grind on, and he was blogging. Who knows how many other channels he has out there? He probably has 20 other YouTube channels out there that we don't even know about. And he just found that YouTube was the best possible way to clear this debt. And, maybe it is. There's people out there making millions and millions of dollars on YouTube. Who's to say that he probably could not have been one of them, right? That's it for this video. Leave your questions and comments below. Let me know what you think. And please like, share, and subscribe.